Through once again.
Let's go down to the field and Hazel May.
Dan and Buck, thank you very much. I'm here with George Springer. His second hit wins it for the Blue Jays. George, in that situation, the infield is in, the outfield is in. You have Jano at third base. You're 0 for 2 lifetime against Cisnero. What is going through your head? What are you telling yourself in that situation?
Just hit the ball hard. I know that sounds not true, but that's true. You know, just hit the ball hard, and hopefully something good happens.
Something good has been happening on this team. You guys have won 7 of your last 8 games. What have you seen from this ball club as far as how they've approached these ball games?
Just playing hard. It's great to be home. It's great to be here in front of our home fans, and playing some.
I tell you,
good thing it's hot today.
it was nice and warm today. What did you think of the way Vladimir Guerrero Jr. plays defense? He made some, a couple of spectacular game-running saves out there. I
mean, he's a Gold Glover, and he's our rock over there. The way he plays, he plays with so much energy every night. Huge plays by him, but a huge at bat by him to get it started in the 9th. So just him being him.
Listen, I can't let you go without asking you what the atmosphere has been like. Yesterday's home opener and tonight's come from behind win. What is it like being back at Rogers Center?
Just listen. Enough said.
Thank you. Congratulations, George Springer and the Blue Jays.
And thanking the fans on his way off the field. A good time was had by all. It took a while to get him going, but 2 in the 9th to tie it. And there's the reaction of the fans. Let's go to the Budweiser studio now with Jamie and Joe.
Detroit tomorrow night. Joe, new set. Are we going to be digging out a new broom or something like that? It's a possibility, right, with Chris Bassett on the hill. We'll get you to Sportsnet Central in just a minute. First, Joe wants to weigh in on a couple of things. First, the way the Blue Jays down 3-1 tied this ball game in the top of the 9th, Joe.
Well, they got some help from Detroit Tigers pitching that were seriously struggling, but where else do you want to be? But when it comes to doing it in the game, it's much more difficult facing live pitching. I thought those were some great approaches.
Note to fans sitting near the bullpen, if you want to bark, bark. Just be polite. We are Canadians after all. Let's focus on, yes, the Blue Jays scored the winning run in their half of the 10th, but it may not have been possible if not for a guy who won the Gold Glove at first base last year and has shown, and Dan and Buck alluded to this on the broadcast, dramatic improvement in the last year and a half or so.
It's unbelievable how far he has come, and if you try to rewind back to when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. made that transition to first base, and I remember saying, first to make it look pretty easy. And remember the award? It's called a Gold Glove Award by first base bag, and who knows better than Don Mattingly, but here's Kevin Kiermaier. He's going to be part of our chats. Every night he's hitting a home run. Other times he's getting a sacrifice bunt down to move a run. Know what the heck to do to this guy? Do you start him with a breaking ball? Do you start him with a fastball? It's the aggressive nature of hitters like Springer and Bichette at the top of the order that makes it very difficult to pitch to them. You have to try to think along their lines and outsmart them. They don't get outsmarted very much.
Thanks to 8 innings of Kevin Gausman, the bullpen is fresh for tomorrow's potential sweep of the Tigers. Let's send it back to the broadcast booth. Dan Schulman's with Buck Martinez.
Jamie, Joe, thank you very much. Last night the Blue Jays hit 5 home runs. Sometimes the wins come fairly easily, but tonight was a different kind of game, Buck, and sometimes you got to execute. 2 sac flies in the 8th, getting men on, getting them over, getting them in. It's kind of been out of favor analytically in recent years, but this team seems much better suited to win this kind of a game than they were a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's really important now that you emphasize pitching and defense, and Kevin Gausman set the tone with 11 strikeouts over 8 innings. And how about the defense? Espinal at third base made a terrific play, starting in place of Matt Chapman, the Gold Glover. Bo makes a great tag in the 6th inning at second base on a short hop throw. And then Vladdy turns a double play in the 9th inning, a terrific step on the a bag, throw to second. He's got the best arm at first base in the majors, no doubt about it. And then the great stretch to end the game. This is how you win close games. This is how you beat good clubs. When you get into the later seasons, when you get into the postseason, you've got to pitch well. They had great relief pitching tonight from Meza and Romano, and then the defense really stepped it up tonight.
6 come from behind wins already this season, and Jamie 4-0 in one-run games on the year.
And yes, some might say, well, the Tigers are having a tough season, and the Rays themselves had said, yes, we've got a bit of a weaker schedule to start the year, but we don't control the schedule. We try and take advantage of the teams that are presented in front of us, and the Blue Jays will have a chance to take all 3 tomorrow night here in Sportsnet. Kevin Gausman's been terrific all year long. 8 innings of work. He gives up 3 earned runs in this game. Is it sweet justice that he doesn't end up losing the game, Joe?
I think it's sweet justice that he goes 8 innings for his team, because going into this game, the last few games, the starters have not been going very deep, like 4 innings-ish, and that's not very good for your bullpen to do that early in the season to them. So he gives them 8 innings, but this was classic Kevin Gausman. He had an outstanding game. This you somehow try to get to him 4th inning. That's not a mistake. That's a fast for the zone. And I think when you look at what Gausman's doing, and when he finally does give up a couple of home runs, this is a guy that keeps the ball in the park as good as anyone. So are they mistakes? I don't like. A lot of times, I know as a catcher, you come back to the dugout and somebody would ask you, where was that pitch? What happened? No, sometimes hitters hit the ball out of the park. But he was absolutely outstanding. You'll take that performance anytime, but especially at a point in time where they needed some help. You don't want to be going through your bullpen too deep here in April and May early in the season, because you're hoping to use a lot of these arms, especially the guy to finish things off in October, hopefully.
Matt Chapman, 2 for 3. Can you believe the start he's had?
He has been unbelievable, and I don't want to say surprised, but I don't think he was exactly locked in spring training, but did he ever flip a switch?
Blue Jays are victorious in extras, and they'll look to sweep.
John, there was a long stretch of that game that looked different. What changed at the end?
I don't know. I mean, I think Rodriguez pitched well. I think his cutter into the righties was a good pitch for him. I think you get a little bit of momentum there late, and guys start to lock it in a little bit. Not that they weren't early, but I think you got to tip your cap early to Rodriguez. But it just shows the character of this team. I mean, they're not out of it. They're not going to quit, and we can beat you in a lot of different ways too.
Yesterday was homers. Today it was sac flies. The bunt by Kiermaier late. Do you think that the ability to do that makes this team better suited for those late and close situations?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah. I think that it is cool to hit the homers last night, and I think tonight you manufacture with the bunt and 2 sac flies and just a base hit up the middle. So it is it's something you got to just be aware of. I think for me, players are aware of it to where there's times where you're going to sit back and let them hit. And there's going to be times where you got to force the issue a little bit. But yeah, it is nice to kind of have some tools to play with late.
Hey, John, from what you've seen from this group, where does the resilience come from?
Character. I mean, these guys have been playing together for a while, a lot of them. And then I think you throw in some new guys that are just, solely focused on winning every single night. Not that we weren't ever, but I just think that, they're supporting one another. Kind of, it started early in spring training, and we've kind of been through it the first 2 weeks. So I think it's just, these guys are hungry to do it. They don't care who it is, who the hero is every night. And, it's been really cool to watch.
They gave out his Gold Glove bobblehead earlier in the night. Then Vladdy has a heck of a night defensively. I guess, what is the evolution you've seen from him over the last few years?
Yeah, good timing for Vlad with bobblehead night. He works his ass off. He did at third base. He does it at first base. Takes a lot of pride in his defense. He's a complete baseball player. I think people see the power and they see the home runs, but Vlad can hit. He's smart. He understands game situations and puts the work in. A lot of the stuff you see during games is because of the work he puts in with Louis and Gil and everyone. So he was pissed at himself for not making a better throw over to third when Baez went. So it's just he's just a really good baseball player.
First base defense is kind of overlooked sometimes. How key is it for your whole kind of group to have him at first?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps out. He's great at balls in the dirt. Unnoticed stuff too, like when he's holding runners and he's kind of deking them a little bit, keeping them close. A lot of that stuff. It's just to have a guy like that over at first. It's a luxury, and you have plus arm strength, you know, if it's a relay throw or even the throw across the diamond tonight.
Before the game, you talked about Gossman, you know, being that stabilizing kind of guy. I guess this supports it today. What did you see from him?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about Kevin tonight. I mean, he was nasty. I mean, 10 or 11 strikeouts? 10, I think. He was dialed in, and I think, you know, he's okay. You know, the couple bad pitches that he did make that got hit out, you know, it's just on to the next thing. So it's just, you know, you trust that dude in any situation, and you know, he's not going to get rattled. So I think, you know, him going back out there in the 8th inning and shutting it down, even after the leadoff double, it's like, all right, man, this dude gets it. You know, we know that. But I think just, you know, tonight was a perfect example of him just, you know, bearing down pitch by pitch.
Congrats on the win. A couple of aggressive plays on the base path that unfortunately didn't go your way. Was that a combination of you always being aggressive and Rodriguez being as good as you said he was?
Yeah, I mean, I think tonight with the one, you know, Vladdy, you know, trying to score, you know, kind of a perfect kick off of the wall, which we're all kind of still learning a little bit, and then 2 perfect throws on a relay, and then Chappie probably got a little bit over anxious because he was running on the 3-2 pitch, trying to go first to third. You know, perfect world, it's, you know, I think tonight, yeah, there's a time to force the issue a little bit and make things happen. But within that, you know, you got to understand, you know, who may come in from the bullpen, what matchup we may have at the plate. So, yeah, maybe a little bit too aggressive at times. But, again, I love the thought of it. You know, I love the thought of guys trying to take the extra base. And still, you know, tonight it took 3 perfect throws to nail 2 runners.
Hey, John, just on Gausman, what's he like in the dugout in between innings on a start where he's going back out 8 times like that?
The same as he is, you know, it's just the same, which is why you feel comfortable. You know, it's, you know, he's kind of does his same routine, stays locked in, you know, next batter, first pitch, what am I going to do? It's just very level-headed. It's just very, you know, just methodical almost.
And that double steal in the middle of the game, what was the explanation you got from the
Yeah, weird one. Umpire's interference. So if the catcher hits the umpire at any point, I don't know if it was his arm or his foot that hit him, you know, the play's just negated and it goes back. Kind of a weird play. But again, you know, we like, you know, I love the fact that Dalton and Witt were ready to go to try to get there second and third, but it was 2 strikes actually on Espy, but you know, love that thought process to try to put pressure on the defense. Yeah, umpire interference is a weird one for sure.
Similarly, on the first run, was that defensive interference on Vladdy there at third as he went in the bag?
Yeah, Eric called it right away. You know, I think, you know, the rule is if the runner keeps going, he's going to be awarded the base, and probably caught in between with Javi making a really good play and picking that ball up. And you know, I'm not quite sure if it was, you know, a good job by Vladdy for, you know, keeping going and when he saw the interference, or if it was, you know, a little bit of luck, but that was the call.
And you were talking earlier about the diversification of the offense. Is there something that, knowing that's in the toolkit, can change a little bit the approach in certain situations where instead of guys feeling like they have to swing for the big blow, you guys can maybe play a bit more of an incremental inning and just take 1 run here and there?
Yeah, I think especially with where you are in the lineup, you can do that. And, you know, I think guys that can handle the bat are key, and whether it's Witt, Espy, you know, you can do a lot of things with those guys. You know, you can hit and run, you can, you know, bunt like KK did and kind of turn it over to the top. So, I mean, I think by now, you know, top of the order, we're going to let those guys hit, you know, and I think having some options, you know, in the middle and at the bottom is a really good thing.
All right. Thanks.